Story 1. Bad subtitling. We've had decades to figure this out, people. Why am I still seeing subtitles that aren't quite what the character said? They censor the swears that were said out loud and just say, "Speak Spanish," instead of what he said in Spanish. Story 2. Volume changes drive me nuts. Explosions are way too loud. I turn it down. The next scene has dialogue. I can't hear what they are saying, so I turn it up. Another war scene blasts my ears. On and on. Please, get your act together. Story 3. Talking like this. And explosions being like this. Also, stop cutting your palms when you need blood and using your hand like it doesn't affect you. Cut your elbows, that way you get the blood and still are able to use your hands. Story 4. I do not like when someone has a condition, such as heart or mental, and the scene turns into a panic to find and take the correct pill. The person takes the pill and instantly all is fine. It does not work that way. Story 5. The miscommunication trope involves characters not saying what they mean or need to say, resulting in chaos. For example, I was watching a horror movie recently about a serial killer in a haunted attraction. A girl comes running in, screaming that he's after her and pleads for help. However, the characters laugh because they think it's part of the show. Instead of insisting that it's real, calling the police, or continuing to run, she hides. The group betrays her, watching her actually die. The death scene is excessively prolonged, and she does not say anything when the main character provokes the killer to just end her life already. It's astounding. Additionally, there are other cliches following the same formula. A man loses a pet or love interest and goes on a killing spree. A woman exits a long relationship and finds herself again, and so on. Story 6. Reboot, reimagining, prequel, 10 sequels, background stories, etc. They need to come up with original, good content. And they need to stop trying to make money off of old good ideas ad nauseum. Story 7. The scene where the bad guy can end the good guy but decides to ramble on and on about their master plan, providing the said good guy with enough time to make his escape or for the good guy's accomplice to swoop in with the save. Story 8. For the horror genre, please stop making 90% of jump scares based solely on the sound effect. At that point, it is just the noise that scares me, not the actual jump scare. Story 9. I'm so over nostalgia bait movies. Ghostbusters Afterlife, Force Awakens, Space Jam 2. Just blatant, lazy attempts at going for, remember that? Type of movies. Story 10. Stop making the same tired reboots and sequels. How many times do we need to see the same story with a different cast? Give us something fresh already. Story 11. I would pay money to never experience another "the child is the key to the problem" scenario again. Also, I am super exhausted of whole series devolving because the parent with children repeatedly does dumb things that endanger everyone else's lives, just so they can stammer and whine, "My children!" Story 12. CGI overload. Bring back practical effects. I don't care if it doesn't look hyper-realistic. I care that it's creative. This and having the lighting so dim and or muted. Story 13. If you are going to turn a book into a movie, then turn the book into a movie. Don't make changes. You are not more clever than the author. If you want to tell a different story, then write one and do that instead. Story 14. Always trying to be all genres. My action story doesn't need a romance. My romantic comedy doesn't need a chase scene. My science fiction doesn't also have to be a political thriller. Sure, some greats are multiple things, but a lot more films are ruined trying to cram something into a film that would be better without it. Story 15. Live action copy and paste of classics. Here's a thought, Disney. How about, if you want to make so many live action films, you do it to the movies that didn't do well in the past? Not to say I won't like a Treasure Planet movie, but it's an example. Despite it being awesome, I don't know why it did poorly. Story 16. Stop going insanely over budget. So many movies these days can be quite good, but they don't have a chance of being successful because they go over budget. Not every movie has to be an insane blockbuster. I'd love to see a return to more mid-range films. They seem to take risks a bit more. Story 17. Tearing out a cannula without bleeding out. Dropping the car or house keys. Distant police sirens at the end of the scenes. passing out immediately with chloroform, saying hello to everything they hear, hanging up the phone without saying goodbye. Story 18. Pretending the only reason for a movie is superheroes and nonstop action. Remember when movies were like The Fugitive, Hunt for Red October, and others? Sure, they had action, but they weren't designed for people who developed attention deficit disorder from playing with their phones all day. Story 19. Shooting with insufficient lighting and background music louder than the dialogue. Movies are too dark, and we can't hear what the actors are saying. Story 20. Garbage fight scenes. I hate seeing more than 60 edits in 30 seconds. Jackie Chan movies showed multiple actors at once doing choreographed performances in staged combat. Making most goofy with props takes even more skill and discipline. Modern Western media needs better filmmaking practices. Story 21. Absurd contrived plot devices in romantic comedies and dramas often involve situations where the love interest misunderstands something innocent. For example, they might walk in on a half-naked person, only to find out it is their visiting brother stepping out of the shower. Then, the entire final act is driven by something that could be resolved with a 15-second conversation or 3 text messages. Story 22. The trailer remixes of songs. It is one of the most insufferable trends in media. Teasing the drop for songs that do not even have a drop, it is so distracting and so ubiquitous. I hate it passionately. Story 23. Stop turning and talking while you're driving. Stop leaving your cell phone behind in the car. For the first and only time, just when someone really needs to tell you something. Stop asking a question in one scene and having someone answer it in another scene 30 minutes later. No real people do these things. Story 24. I don't like that trope. I call it the Iron Man 3. The let's take away the one thing that makes this character interesting and spend the whole movie making them get it back thing they do to save money on production costs. That new Star Trek 2 did it too. Hey, awesome, let's go to a spaceship movie that takes place on Earth. Story 25. Smoking on submarines and spaceships is not permissible due to the preciousness of air. No matter how cool the protagonist may appear, it would not be allowed. Additionally, there are really high ceilings on them. Every cubic inch in these environments is extremely expensive. Therefore, it is improbable to find cathedral ceilings in a submarine or a spaceship. Story 26. Putting rape and assault in everything, making it graphic, and making it a constant recurring theme in shows and movies is unnecessary. There are so many shows I would like to watch, but I can't because they will cause me to have panic attacks and sometimes trigger flashbacks. I'm certainly not the only one who feels this way. Even if you don't have trauma, I doubt you enjoy watching such content. Story 27. I feel like there is always a box or 2 of Chinese takeout you see when a fridge is opened. It gets picked up, opened, smelled, then eaten, or they make a face like it's bad. I hate that. Story 28. That slow-motion action style, especially when they rotate the camera view while the subject is in midair. Sure, it was revolutionary in The Matrix and funny in Shrek 2. But I'm so sick of it now.